Hi, how are you today? Today, I'm going to gas out my fucking bedroom. Oh,
That's right, I am going to make an ozone generator. But what is an ozone generator and why do I need one? Well, it's a generator that generates ozone. It's in the name, dumbass. But why do you need one, I hear you ask? Well, it's pretty simple actually. Recently, I got super sick. And I was pissed at that little pesky virus and about the fact that I can't do anything to it. It was torturing me, but I couldn't torture it back. And that really pissed me off. I tried everything. I tried bribing it, which didn't work. I also tried boxing, which also did not work. And then I realized I'm simply too big to cause any harm to it. This is kind of like it was back in school. Some third grader is pissing you off, but you're too big to do anything to him. So you get your little brother, so he can kick his ass after school. So in conclusion, I'm too big to cause any harm to viruses, but ozone isn't. It will demolish any virus it comes in contact with. Ozone is basically 3 oxygen atoms bound together. But to bind them, you first have to split oxygen, which requires a lot of voltage. Which means that for legal reasons I have to tell you, do not try this at home. This seriously might be the most dangerous project I have ever made. Because it involves high voltage, it involves glass shards, and toxic gas. That's a bonus. Alright, enough talking. Let's move on to the painful process I went through to build this thing. An ozone tube, you know, the part that generates ozone, is made out of 2 electrodes separated by glass, so basically I need a glass tube. For my glass tube, I decided to use this CFL light bulb that I stole from my local nursing home. Most of those fuckers are blind anyways, I don't think they would mind very much. But these lights have toxic mercury vapor inside of them, so I will release it outside by sawing off the end. I guess that also works. Now I got the glass tube. The next step is to cut it into smaller pieces. And I would like to point out that I really have no idea what I'm doing when it comes to cutting glass. I decided to put a piece of tape on my tube so I can have a line to follow when cutting. And it kind of worked. As you can see, before this, I really didn't believe in the use of safety glasses. That was until I almost got a glass shard in my eye. As you can see, I learned from my mistakes, probably for around 30 minutes. Also, it's probably not great that I'm releasing fuck ton of glass dust in my bedroom. But who cares, it's probably fine. Now just a little sandpaper action to finish it up, and this is the exact moment that I started to regret my whole life. After many failed attempts, I finally got some nice tubes, for which I also 3D printed some caps, so they look a little better, but more importantly, so they don't break when I look at them wrong. Okay, for now, let's move on to the driving circuit. We somehow have to generate a very high voltage for this to work. And I will do that with my favorite circuit for producing high voltage, the ZVS driver. I actually have used the same circuit in my previous videos and I fucking love it. And here is the driver. It didn't take too long to make, but I did have a small hiccup. Because as it turns out, the MOSFETs I was using weren't functioning correctly, so it took me some time to figure that out. Also, I want to make a nice case for it, because I am planning to use it in the future videos, so I 3D printed these parts. And I know what you're thinking. Hey Universal, you spent all this time designing and printing a case. You're probably gonna hold everything nicely together with bolts and screws, right? Wrong! I will fucking drown everything in hot glue. Now that the driver is finished, let me show some of the cool things it can do. For example, I can attach a copper coil to it and heat up metals quickly. But when I put my finger in it, nothing happens. And it's because of a little physics thing that I like to call "I'm not made of fucking metal" law. That's fun and all, But even more fun is connecting a high voltage transformer to it. And that's actually what we need to make the ozone generator work. But this transformer won't do. I have to wind my own. So I modeled and printed this core on which I will wind my transformer. I also borrowed this relay from my neighbor's car while he was sleeping, because I need the wire inside of it. And after painful 4 hours, I finally finished it. It better work. And this is just painful to look at. What the hell is this? As it turns out, the transformer was arcing internally, which means I can throw it into the garbage. Yeah, fuck that transformer. But lucky for me, I actually got another transformer that I wound a while back. And this one actually works pretty damn great. Remember the glass tubes I made? Yeah, these ones. Well, I kinda fucked them up. I was testing them off camera and I melted a hole right through them. So yeah, fuck those tubes. I'm going to make a new one out of a glass soda bottle, because those actually have a much thicker glass. And here is the tube. It was actually much easier to cut since it's much thicker, and I glued aluminium foil to the inner walls. It will act as one of the electrodes. But this actually was a pretty big mistake, and you'll see why later. For my second electrode I will wind a thin wire around the tube, because the second electrode needs to be sharp. Don't ask me why. I'm not a physicist, I'm just a dumbass who likes to make things. And here you can see the almost finished tube. I also 3D printed this cap so I can hold the wires in place nicely. And here's a quick test of the ozone tube. I really like that purple glow. As you can see, some of its parts are not glowing, but it's fine, it's still producing heaps of ozone. Now I get to do something really fun. And by fun, I mean cut more glass. I have to cut more fucking glass. I basically will cut off the bottom of a jar to make a bigger glass tube, so I can cool the ozone tube more efficiently by pumping air through the bigger tube. Also, some of y'all might have noticed, I have kinda moved locations. That's to reduce echo. That's so I don't sound like I smoke 5 packs a day. That's the type of shit I do for you fuckers. You better subscribe. So I did exactly that, and also I 3D printed this cap so it looks a little bit cooler. And this little fan will cool the tube. It may look small, but I assure you, it moves a lot of air. Now I gotta mount it on the driver, so I printed these little legs. Let's glue them on. Also, let's glue the tube itself. But I still have to figure out how am I going to mount the transformer. That's right, you guessed it, hot glue. And if any one of you talks shit about hot glue, I will find you and I will glue your lips shut. And it's finally finished. Now I can finally take revenge on my arch enemy, the common fucking cold. And isn't it beautiful? I mean, not really, but I am making an ozone generator, not art. Now, all that's left to be done is to run it for a couple of hours and kill every single living thing inside of my room, including me probably. And I especially like how it looks in the dark. Like, come on, doesn't it look like something straight out of a science fiction movie or something? I also like the smell of ozone it's producing, which isn't great, because ozone is actually very harmful to your lungs and probably will destroy them. In which case, I couldn't smoke cigarettes anymore, so I definitely don't want that. And this is fucking insanely dumb. So I left the generator on and went to have a smoke, right? After around 7 minutes, I heard a loud bang. I was actually very surprised. When I came back, it was arcing to itself. And look at this nonsense! You see that? That fucking hole. It melted that hole right through the glass. Also, see that crack? It fucking exploded. So what I think happened, you know the glue I used to glue the foil to the inside of the tube? Yeah, it's very flammable. And I guess what happened is the heat from the tube evaporated the glue. It mixed with ozone, which is a very strong oxidizer. And when it finally melted through the glass, it ignited the mixture and it fucking exploded. And unfortunately, I did not get that on camera. So yeah, that sucks. But the funny thing is, it actually still works. I guess the molten glass actually filled the hole. And it's working fine, I don't know what to say. And the problem actually was that I was running the driver at 20 volts. And that was way too much. It was getting the tube very hot. Hot enough to melt a hole right through it. But now I tested it at 12 volts and it works great. I can run it for hours, no problem. So I guess this is the end. In the future, I may actually build another tube, much better one, and test its effectiveness with some of those agar dishes that scientists use to grow bacteria. Leave a comment if you would like to see that. And I guess, bye.